creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Scientists just discovered that this ancient herb can kill 90% of colon cancer cells in less than 24 hours. Before chemoradiation and all these modern treatments were existing, our ancestors used herbs to heal themselves. And now, science is finally backing up what we already knew. Researchers tested dandelion root on aggressive colon cancer cells, and what they found was incredible. Within 24 hours, most of the cancer cells started to shut down on their own. And by 48 hours, over 95% of them were completely gone. Here's the crazy part. The healthy cells weren't affected at all. Then they went and tested this on mice with human colon tumors, and the tumor growth dropped by more than 90%. And remember, this is a completely natural extract. It's made just by boiling the dried roots of the dandelion plant in water, nothing synthetic, no added chemicals. You can start by drinking 1 cup of dandelion root tea a day, preferably in the morning on an empty stomach. By the way, I went deeper and I made a list of ancient herbs that have been found to have incredible health benefits most people have never heard of. Just comment the word herb below and I'll send you the complete list.
I might be wrong, but I heard dandelion tincture is more effective.
What is this luxury item?
This is the Balenciaga homeless outfit, priced at 12,000 USD.
What is this
Whoa.
luxury item?
This is the Balenciaga tape bracelet, priced at 4K USD, inspired by real-life adhesive tape.
What is this luxury item?
This is the Balenciaga windbreaker jacket, priced at 1,000
Wow.
USD.
What is this luxury item?
This is the Balenciaga black plastic bag, priced at 650 USD.
What is this luxury item?
This is the Balenciaga homeless shoes, priced at
What?
1.8K USD.
1.8K? Get out of here.
What is this luxury item?
This is the Tiffany steel wool bracelet, priced at 11,000 USD, inspired by real kitchen steel wool scrubbers.
What is this luxury item?
This is the Balenciaga plastic tote bag, priced at 1.2K USD.
What is this luxury item?
This is the LV crawfish bag, priced at 8,000
I dig that one.
USD, inspired by a red crawfish.
What is this luxury item?
This is the Balenciaga plastic bag purse, priced at 1.7 thousand USD, inspired by real-life garbage bags.
What is this luxury item?
This is the Balenciaga water
Wow.
shoe bag, priced at 5.3K USD.
What is this luxury item?
This is the Balenciaga
What?
horsehair underwear, priced at 1K USD, inspired by horsehair tassels.
What is this luxury item?
This is the LV airplane bag, priced at 40,000 USD, inspired by a vintage
Wow.
propeller airplane, with only 65 pieces available worldwide.
Man, it's expensive to be homeless these days.
NATO is using live cockroaches as AI-powered spies. Think cockroaches attached with an electronic backpack that is supercharged with AI hardware, carrying cameras, sensors, microphones, radars, all sending data back in real time. So the next question is, how are they controlling the cockroaches? These cockroaches are steered by sending electrical signals to the nervous system, and they coordinate in swarms, creating a mesh network. And the combination of the data will then give you so much intelligence.
Man.
What makes these cockroaches so useful is the fact that they are silent, nearly undetectable. You can't hear them. You can barely see them.
Pretty sure this was in the movie Fifth Element.
Cut off one head, and 2 more will grow back. That is the power of the Hydra. The Lernaean Hydra comes from Greek mythology, and it lived in the swamps of Lerna in ancient Greece. Its poisonous breath and presence was said to corrupt the land and water around it. The Hydra was described as a massive serpent-like monster with multiple heads, often 9 in many versions. It had a long coiling body, razor-sharp fangs, and venomous breath and blood. One of its heads was said to be immortal. The Hydra was raised by the marriage goddess Hera as a dangerous creature, meant to challenge heroes, becoming infamous for terrorizing the swamps around Lerna. Eventually, slaying the Hydra became one of the legendary 12 labors of the Greek hero Heracles. The Hydra had several terrifying abilities. It was capable of regenerating its own heads, cut off one and two grow back,
Wow.
on top of its extremely venomous breath and poisonous blood. And its blood was deadly. Dipping arrows in Hydra venom became incredibly lethal. When Heracles fought the dragon, he discovered its regeneration. So he changed his strategy. With the help of his nephew Iolaus, they burned the neck stumps after cutting the heads off, effectively preventing them from regrowing. Finally, the immortal head was buried under a massive rock. The Hydra appears in many modern fantasies, including Disney's Hercules, Clash of the Titans, as well as God of War 3, remaining one of the most famous monsters from Greek mythology. There's even an actual life form called the Hydra in real life. In Greek mythology, the Hydra proved one terrifying truth. Sometimes, the more you fight a monster, the stronger it becomes. If you want to learn about more serpent creatures, follow for more, and comment what mythical creatures or entities you want me to share next.
How about the Kraken?
There is a substance found in nature that has 94 of the essential vitamins and minerals every human needs every single day, and it's found in one food source. It would be considered a superfood. It's actually bee pollen. So all those vitamins and minerals, there's 94 vitamins and minerals inside of bee pollen. I would like you to find one Flintstone multivitamin for children that has 94 ingredients in it at all. You're never going to find one. In fact, you're not going to find any multivitamin for sale off a shelf through Amazon that has all 94 of these vitamins and minerals found in every particle of bee pollen. And it's cheap. It's found in nature. It is literally the ultimate food. So
Pollen.
if you don't want to be overwhelmed with trying to buy a vitamin C supplement and a magnesium supplement and a selenium supplement and a manganese supplement or a salt lick supplement, why don't you just go get the bee pollen? And just take one thing every day. Take a quarter of a teaspoon every single day. Many of these couples who have been unable to get pregnant for years, have been in IVF therapy for years, by the time they come in for their physical consult 2 weeks later with me physically, from the initial over the phone consult, they've all started in the first 2 weeks, their bee pollen. Many of them show up at the consult already pregnant, and all they did was bee pollen.
Amazing.
Pollen. All right. Thank you for the info.
Did you know that there was once a man-eating leopard which killed over 400 people?
Oh.
The Pinar man-eater is largely regarded as the second most dangerous feline ever recorded. It comes in second place to the Champawat tigress, who killed at least 430 people. However, this isn't the only thing that the leopard and the tigress share, as both were killed by this man, Jim Corbett. And if you haven't heard me speak of Jim Corbett before, I absolutely have a massive amount of respect for this man. He was a British Indian hunter and later turned conservationist, so he was often called on by the British Indian government to hunt down these man-eating big cats, and he often would refuse any kind of monetary reward. He didn't enjoy killing them. He saw it as a necessary evil, essentially, and he would often try and figure out why these big cats were turning to eat people, and he later pushed for the protection of a lot of species. I'll have to do a video on him another time. Anyway, it was while Jim Corbett was actually hunting the man-eating tigress in 1910, who escaped the army, by the way, and crossed over from India to Nepal, but I have a whole other video on that. He then first heard wind of this man-eating leopard, which had been terrifying locals. In 1910, he met a husband and wife who'd been attacked by the leopard, and while the husband was largely uninjured, the wife was severely injured. She'd been dragged by the throat, and although she survived the attack, Jim Corbett wrote that she most likely was going to die because the wounds had turned septic. He staked out their house as he was pretty certain the leopard had returned from the alarm calls of jackals, but the leopard did not show itself. It was then the following September that Jim Corbett travelled 30 miles after he heard the attack of 4 men from a leopard, and he staked out in the jungle for 3 days with 2 goats as bait. It was in complete pitch black that he heard the leopard attacking one of the goats, and he fired off some shots in the direction of the sound. He then brought a group of men to make a line to try and find the leopard and put it out of its misery, but the moment the leopard reappeared, the men just all ran away, apart from Jim, because he's built different, and he did shoot the leopard dead. When Corbett finally caught the man-eating tigress, he reported the reason that she had been attacking humans was because she had been shot in the mouth and basically her canine teeth were broken, so she couldn't properly hunt her usual prey, and out of desperation turned to eating humans. But when Jim Corbett saw the leopard, he realized it was a male in good health. However, as it nearly always is in these cases, he did track the issue back to humans. He realized this leopard had started eating people, become a man-eater, after a cholera outbreak in the region. And because people hadn't been burying their dead, the leopard got a taste for human flesh, and humans are a lot easier to hunt. and so this tragedy occurred. This was the first leopard that Jim Corbett ever hunted, but he later went on to stop the leopard of Rudraprayag. Let me know if you'd like me to talk about that story next. And it's important I finish this video by saying leopard attacks are rare, but they do happen. Around 350 to 450 leopard attacks are recorded worldwide every year, and this is usually when the animal is cornered, sick, or protecting cubs. Leopards have lost almost all of their historic territory to humans, so there is going to be conflicts. But luckily, thanks to modern medical advancements, you're a lot less likely to die from an infection after a leopard attack now, and only around 10 to 15% of leopard attacks are fatal, according to BBC Wildlife.
The vast majority of human deaths by animals, wild or domestic, are the fault of other humans.
So one of the most terrifying urban legends that came out of my hometown that terrified me as a kid and still terrifies me to this day as an adult has to do with necromancy, the act of bringing the dead back to life. The more that I've dived into this, the less I actually think that it is an urban legend as opposed to just history. Did you know that the last recorded witch hunt to happen in the US happened in Oklahoma? It wasn't the same large-scale witch trial like it was in Salem, but nevertheless, we were not immune to the panic here. I believe a lot of this panic came out of the urban legend. Because I have deep dived into this urban legend so many times, I genuinely think that it is connected to history in some way, shape, or form, and potentially not a legend at all. So back in the late 1800s, potentially even the early 1900s, there was an epidemic of meningitis. And it's thought that one of the people that had suffered from this was this woman's husband. We don't know what her name is, but all that we know is that she had a fascination with the occult. Although it's never specified in the urban legend exactly what he passed from, I can only assume it was something like this. And I'll tell you why later. She was so overwhelmed with him passing unexpectedly that she didn't know how to deal with her grief properly. And instead of going through the typical 7 steps of grief, she decided to take matters into her own hand and try magic. She wanted to be able to perform necromancy in order to bring her husband back to life again. After this man had already been buried, she went out and exhumed the body herself. Somehow was able to bring him back to her place, began a summoning ritual in order to conjure him back into his body. Because I have personally never witnessed something like this occurring, I only have media to fall back on. I can't help but think about things like Practical Magic or American Horror Story, Coven, because during those times where bringing someone back to life was successful, they were never really themselves anymore. In fact, had the potential to be something much darker. Nevertheless, she attempted and was allegedly unsuccessful, but the town ended up getting wind of this.
Man, she talks so fast. Oh, yeah, I never heard this before. Very interesting and creepy.
1996, NASA puts this satellite in space. The mission doesn't go as planned, but they discover something way more interesting. This is the STS-75 mission. It appears they got the Dodge guys on this one because this mission is ridiculous. The goal was to tether a satellite to the space shuttle and drag it through the Earth's magnetic field to see how much power they could generate. It generated so much power that it blew the connection to the space shuttle. As it was going, it attracted those guys, like moths to a light. But they are not moths. They called them plasmoids. They appear to be conscious. They behave very similarly to algae, where algae feed on light. These guys seem to consume electric charge. They've even classified them into species like these donuts that wander around like herbivores. These hunters who are possibly another Dodge product. They care about nothing more than going fast. The weirdest one, these shapeshifters that can replicate themselves. Dr. Peratt, a plasma physicist, has studied ancient petroglyphs and linked them to plasma phenomenon. Ancient humans possibly saw this and thought they were aliens. They show conscious behavior, so are they? Plasma animates life in human form. Every time we measure brainwaves or heart rate, we're reading some form of plasma. Strip away all the material layers of a human. With thoughts, memories, and the animating life force. If that's all plasma, then it makes a lot of sense. It doesn't stop there. Plasma doesn't just animate matter, it seems to be the thing that creates it. Plasma makes up 99.9% of the universe. Stars make every heavy element up to iron. When they supernova, they make all the other stuff. Cold fusion, or atomic alchemy, uses the symmetrical compression of ionized air to create a donut plasmoid. By modulating time instead of energy, new research shows that any element can be created as long as we know that element's frequency, which is just how fast it's vibrating. I've got a bigger question. What does it say about that guy? Is it one massive being made up of a crazy amount of these guys? You control billions of cells and organisms that form muscles and tissues and organs. Could that not be the same? Shout out to my man Jared for showing me the research paper on this. Jared is a Forge member. Thank you very much, buddy. If you want to look more at this research paper, it is very interesting.
NASA, not a space agency.
Did you see the Hillary Clinton email about the Nephilim? The Nephilim are often referred to as giants in the Bible, but some believe they are the offspring of fallen angels and humans. Sounds crazy, right? Well, Hillary Clinton's email here, requesting documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, the location of his body, and the location of the buried Nephilim. If they didn't exist, why is she requesting documents for them? And about Gilgamesh, a Mesopotamia mythological hero. Here is supposedly a video that some people think is Gilgamesh found in his tomb.
Man. Nephilim.
Now, who's to say whether this video is real or not, but with how weird reality actually is, I'm not going to immediately doubt it. We live in a very scripted and twisted reality, and truth is hidden if you're not in the club. But I don't know. I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Let me know what you think.
Funny how we used to be the crazy ones. And look, who was right the whole time?
You use condoms and you think it's safe. What if it's slowly poisoning your body? A 2014 Danish study found over 100 different toxic ingredients in condoms. Hormone disruptors, carcinogens, glycerin, parabens, petroleum derivatives, phthalates, and nonoxynol, a spermicide that damages the uterus wall. Each condom contains about 1.5 milliliters of lubricant on average. If a woman is intimate 300 times a year, she's putting into her uterus over half a liter of this toxin into her body every single year. So my question to you is this really safe or are we just misinformed?
Just don't sleep around, bruh.
If you want to keep that thing as a pet, be my guest. But first, there's some things you should know. Meet the fangtooth moray eel. It's basically a fully carnivorous sea serpent with a mouthful of broken glass. Not to mention, according to some reports, they have a 900 pound per square inch bite force to go along with those daggers. Oh, and their teeth? Yeah, they face backwards. That way, when they grab their prey, it ain't going nowhere. And this is where things get weird. Inside their throat, they have a second set of jaws with a second set of teeth. And these jaws can protrude forward and help grab their prey and pull it down their throat.
Man, just like the alien.
Come to think of it, that sounds really familiar. Anyways, what makes it even worse is they have absolutely no predators. That's because they have this really thick slime substance inside their body. And if any creature were to bite into them, they would just get a mouthful of slime, which would cause them to choke and retire from taking in oxygen permanently. Moral of the story, I don't think that swimming doctor's office would make a really good friend. Maybe leave it there. And as always, follow for more facts.
Don't judge a book by its cover, unless the cover looks like this.
A 27-year-old wrote the most dangerous book in America. It contained the secrets of every mystery tradition on Earth. He was not a member of any of them. His name was Manly Palmer Hall, born in Peterborough, Ontario, in 1901. No university degree, no academic credentials of any kind. He had simply read everything. Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, Kabbalah, Hermeticism, the Egyptian mysteries, Pythagorean mathematics, alchemy, over 50 traditions, one book. The book was the size of an atlas. It weighed 7 pounds. His central thesis was devastating. Every mystery school on Earth teaches the same teaching, deliberately hidden inside each culture's mythology and symbolism. He demonstrated that Masonic ritual encodes Hermetic philosophy. He was not a Mason when he wrote it. In 1928, he published it. 550 hand-numbered copies. Franklin Roosevelt had a copy. Elvis Presley had a copy. The book has never gone out of print for nearly 100 years.
Wow.
The Freemasons made him a 33rd degree Mason. After the book, he had not gone through the degrees. He had not been initiated. They recognized that an outsider had understood their own tradition better than they could explain it themselves. He gave over 8,000 lectures in his lifetime. He founded the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles, a temple for every tradition. His life's work was a single proof. The Hermetic teaching runs through all of them. As above, so below. The same words, in every language, in every century. In 1990, Manly Hall died under mysterious circumstances. The questions remain open. A man with no credentials decoded the secret architecture of civilization. The book is still in print, and you were never taught his name. The complete Hermetic system is at thelira.com. The Hermetic Synthesis Course. Link in bio.
Have you asked yourself, how did he get all that knowledge? There's a reason for everything.
460,000 to 800,000 children in America go missing every
God,
single
please
year.
help them.
And 2,300 children every single day go missing in America. Sit with that one for a second, okay? In India, thousands of women and children are actually smuggled in, and they have over 300,000 child beggars. Every year in Germany, over 100,000 children go missing. I already said it. In the United States, 460,000 up to 800,000 children go missing every single year, and 2,300 a day go missing. Over 30,000 kids a year in Canada go missing. What about in Japan? 74 to 90,000 children go missing every year. It's a little harder to track in Mexico, but they're saying up to 111,000 children go missing every year. And a lot of them go missing into, you guessed it, the United States of America. In London, 40,000 children go missing every year. Russia's another one to track, hard to track. 40,000 estimated missing children every year leave or are missing in Russia. 20 to 25,000 in Australia. It showed only 263 children missing in 2025 in Greece. Go figure. So where the hell are all the children? We have the money. We have the resources. We have the technology to find these kids. So where are they? Where are they?
I don't know.
Are they still breathing? Are they even with us anymore?
I hope so.
You cannot tell me that 500,000 children are missing every year, over 500,000, let's say 750,000. And we don't know where any of them are. That's bullshit. I call bullshit. Save the children.
Yes. How is this possible?
The biggest racial serial killers like ever were in San Francisco in the 70s. They're called the Zebra Killers. It was a group of them that are going around massacring white people, like chopping them up, torturing some of them, raping women. I think they were convicted of, it was like, I think 17 murders, but they were expected up to 100 murders. The whole city was terrified of these fucking monsters because they're black. You've never heard of them.
Were they gangs? Or was it a gang?
They were black Muslims. It got so crazy they started stopping black people to like frisk them, and that came a big, hey, you got to leave these black people alone. I think it went on for like maybe a year, maybe more. The whole city was terrified. I lived in San Francisco. I never heard of it. They just covered it up.
In the state of Texas, if you kill someone, you get 5-10 years. You rob someone, you're going to get a life sentence and never go home. They hold you more accountable for robbing someone because they say that they have to deal with psychological trauma or something like that. Better off killing them.
Right.
So they offer me 66 years. I'm young. I don't know what to do with all that time. I go back in the dorm. I cry. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I was a gangster. I was just really standing on business. No, I got on my bunk. I went under the cover and I cried. That hurt it. I thought I was gone for the rest of my life. So I'm like, I'm just going to take everything to trial. I'm going to fight for my life. So I beat these two in trial. They hit me with these extraneous after I beat them because now the DA is mad that I won in trial. My lawyer tells me, he's like, man, these other 3 cases, you got good action. Like, I could win, but I'm going to lose one.
This is exactly why ravens are considered to be not only one of the smartest birds on the planet, but one of the smartest animals too.
Look at that. Smart bird. Uh-oh.
A lot of people are going to watch that and say, wow, evolution is amazing. But I look at that and say, wow, God is an incredible designer. Check this out. Luke 12:24. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable you are than birds. So even when we look at ravens, we understand God's power, his love, and his perfect design. We literally have no excuse not to believe in God.
It amazes me how the bird knew exactly what to do and took action.
Becoming a skinwalker is actually a choice. To gain their powers, a person must kill a
Why would you
close family
choose
member.
that?
By sacrificing someone they love, they gain the ability to shapeshift into animals.
That's disgusting.
So they literally wear the skins of the animals they become. Skinwalkers possess superhuman speed and strength. They can read minds. They can mimic voices. And they can curse you with illness or death. In human form, a skinwalker's eyes look like animal eyes, but in animal form. Their eyes look human.
Look like
Examples I would like to know. Just asking for a friend.
The thing about Epstein is that all the survivors know he was perversion written all over him. He never hid it. So let's just stick to some facts. Cape Town's a big modeling market. So Epstein, is a fact, set up a modeling casting. Girls would show up if he liked a particular one. You know, he got their information, flew them from Cape Town to New York. I know some girls who were abused on that trip, who later were shipped to the island. Their passports are taken away. And then next minute you're told to go into this room and have sex with this person. Did he do that in secrecy? He didn't mention the casting. The beautiful young girls that he was meeting there, and the other men don't really know what's going on around him.
Trafficking 101.
That is trafficking.
Yeah. What is that? Do y'all want to hear a really scary nonfiction story? Because that might be fake, but what I'm about to tell you isn't. It's about the coming human harvest.
And I had a dream where I saw these snake men, read between the lines, these snake men, and they were all, we were in New York City. Everything was just lights out everywhere. It was like a major cataclysm happening on the earth. And guess what was happening? These snake men were literally coming down from the sky, breaking into buildings and snatching up all the people. And once again, I'm having another revelation while that happened, because I didn't know what that meant besides what I'm about to tell you now. God showed me these reptile angels coming down and collecting humankind, and the power was off. God showed me that fallen angels took on the form of reptiles when they fell. And years after that, I had always been digging up information, and we learned about the reptile gods these people will worship in different places. There's even a culture that they have sky stone. It's blue. It comes down, and it was said to come down with the reptile gods. The reptile god, to go back to the beginning of the earth. It's always been about fallen angels. They have always been these deities. They've always been. And God showed me when they fell, they took on a reptile form. Back to the dream, lights out everywhere, and these fallen angels, these reptiles, are breaking in buildings and snatching people up. And the craziest part about that, I remember like one dream from when I was a kid. And I was in my old house in the backyard looking up, and there was an invasion. A whole bunch of UFOs. Right? That's all I can remember. Again, why would aliens, we'll just call them aliens, right? Just whatever. Why would they harvest humans? For the divine spirits? For energy? For the reptile gods? Maybe something else? The life force of a human? I know that you know, unrelated, what these cults do. I know you've heard it. I know you've seen it. We all know what these cults do. Whether it be on an island in the middle of nowhere, or whether it be on a ranch in the middle of the desert, we know what they do. So why would they harvest humans? Why would they let the population go from 500 million to 8 billion? Why are these theories out there saying that the president watches a tape about how he's eventually going to let this happen? Because it is coming.
That's why they're going underground if everything fails. They release these creatures. Miami Mall was the pretest. Jeffrey Epstein. With Kelly Ripa in the passenger seat.
One of the culture shocks was seeing all the homeless people.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's like crazy. Why not just build a house? Some of these guys are like specially talented. They're like take fentanyl and stand and sleep at the same time.
That's called the fentanyl lean.
Instead of like taking fentanyl, why not just take a hammer and nails, build houses?
What land are they gonna build it on?
Hi
Why were men obsessed with tights in the Renaissance? Forget six-packs. In the Renaissance, the ultimate status symbol was to have long, shapely legs with a well-toned calf fitted in a beautiful pair of skin-tight stockings. During the 16th century in particular, we had this development of fashion where men's legs were becoming even more prominent because the hose, which are these voluminous shorts, were becoming higher, and that drew attention to the codpiece and also the shapeliness of the legs. Sometimes the heights that these hose reached was quite extreme, as demonstrated here, where there is nothing left to the imagination. The fact that we can see his muscles shows off his masculinity. Calves were particularly prized during this era, and some men even padded them out. In his youth, Henry VIII was renowned for his physique, and he was particularly proud of his calves, which you can see are massive here. In fact, the Venetian ambassador reported that he had an extremely fine calf to his leg. Bulk wasn't everything though, and a long leg like this was also highly sought after, because this would be perfect for dancing. In royal circles, the ability for a man to dance was highly important, and so showing off one's legs in these stockings allowed them to show off their intricate footwork. These stockings were also very expensive. They showed off your wealth and status. If they were made from silk, they could cost as much as a labourer's whole annual wage. Coloured stockings, again, were very expensive because they required expensive dyes. So what do you think? Do you think these amazing styles should come back? Should men start wearing tights again?
Absolutely not. They're like the cleavage for the women. Hey, how about if you have hairy legs?
The woman could hardly believe that several female wolves had fallen in love with her Tibetan Mastiff. They constantly acted cute around him and tried to get his attention. The woman runs a ranch where she raises sheep, so the Tibetan Mastiff was assigned to guard the fence line to prevent wolves from stealing the sheep. Surprisingly, the wolves did come, but instead of attacking the flock, they gathered around the Mastiff. Every time they showed up, they seemed to be trying to persuade him to join their wolf pack. When the female wolves realized they couldn't convince the Mastiff to join them, they surprisingly turned their attention to the woman. Outside the fence, they rolled onto their backs and showed their bellies to her, acting cute and trying to gain her trust. Gradually, they succeeded, and the woman eventually allowed them to come closer and play with the Mastiff. At first, she would hang food on a tree outside the fence for them to eat, but over time, they became more and more familiar with each other. Eventually, the woman began to feel that the wolves might see her as the leader of the pack. They would lower their heads and approach her cautiously, allowing her to stroke them. When she brought food, they would even lead her toward their den.
Dog has so much aura that he get wolf Betty. This is sick. That's disgusting. She eats baby. You know about this? Uh-oh. Oh man. Look at that. Yeah, woman pregnant. God, please help those children.
Hollywood is collapsing. As you know, ever since I've left, Hollywood has gone all wrong. Probably because of old Russ. We all saw me and Arthur.
I will do no such thing. I'm going to remain here and box with Evander. Then I shall have my music lesson with Kanye West as planned.
Brilliant acting. Especially Nick Nolte was grabbing me by the nutbag and hurting me real bad. You'll notice I just let that slide. Let's face it, Hollywood is the agency of Satan. Its function, whether they know it or not, they probably don't know this, is to amplify ideas that cause division, suffering, commodification, objectification, these kind of things. That's what it's for. And it just blows my mind. Me and Jake spoke about this at length. Like, it was a film about Hollywood and about the hopeless, senseless narcissism and emptiness and shallowness of Hollywood. Is made by Hollywood. Like, so all those people, it's really confusing. Hollywood's not there to create jobs and opportunities. It's there as a propaganda unit. Look at the relationships they have with the CIA. Look at the relationships they have with the military. CIA place operatives within all major. I mean, it's just the cast iron, deep, stone cold fact that Hollywood has CIA operatives within it, and the messaging, as you know, Babylonian.
The Pentagon has a department for Hollywood.
Why did nobody tell me that the CIA knows the exact location of the most sacred artifact in history? In the late 1980s, a US Army soldier was ordered to look for something buried deep in the Middle East. But they didn't give him a map, and they actually told him that he wouldn't even be leaving his chair. The soldier had been recruited into a declassified Defense Intelligence Agency program called Project Sunstreak. This was a real US government experiment into remote viewing. Basically, they trained psychics to see locations, peoples, and objects anywhere in the world at any time without ever actually going there. They only really went there in their minds. One morning, remote viewer number 32, which was one of the top remote viewers in the program, was given this envelope. The envelope itself had nothing but a set of coordinates. There was really no explanation or anything given to him. They just told him, close your eyes and just tell us what you see. This soldier had done this hundreds of times, and it was typically quite boring. It was just lay down on a bed, go to this place in your mind, and after that, just draw what you saw and describe what you see afterward. Out of the hundreds of times that he had done this, there was never anything scary, anything religious or paranormal that had ever happened to him until today. So as he lays down on this bed and thinks about those coordinates in his mind, he just immediately begins to feel this otherworldly resistance. It was like something was just trying to push him out, making sure that he doesn't get to this place. And this feeling just made remote viewer number 32 feel very uneasy. He wonders if he should even continue. But this man had never failed a remote viewing task in his life, and he wasn't about to start today. So he ignores that feeling and he continues to focus on those numbers. Suddenly, his mind lands in what looks like an underground cave. It's very wet, it's dark, it's damp, and there's just a tiny little bit of light coming through some cracks on the stone ceiling. Now, from the moment he landed in that room...
Intriguing. But I believe Ron Wyatt's story, he found the Ark. Israel knows where it is, and he's covering it up.
Oprah Winfrey is a slave trader. Let that sink in. It's 100% true. Why do you think she has that school in South Africa? Why does she hang out with who she hangs out with? How is she a slave trader? Does the name John of God ring a bell? LeBron has a school too. You know what?
Everybody
LeBron
has a
does
school
have
now.
a school too. And you know what? LeBron was pretty tied up with a lady by the name of Hillary Clinton. This is widespread industrial slavery of children. The NBA is corrupted big time by some dark influences. This is like the Civil War all over again. Trump is like Abraham Lincoln, except instead of black people, it's children. Because these people trade children. And you know what's even worse? Is that so many people will take a paycheck from slave traders. Because you know what? If you're in Hollywood, you're probably taking money from slave traders.
If you are looking for the hidden knowledge, if you want to find out who runs the world, who controls the money, the politics, and almost every facet of life, this ebook will literally unveil that to you.
The way that you can tell if this happens to you frequently enough and you're lucid enough and in the fight or flight phase of fear, you are able to be observant, you will always notice a glitch. And that is why you know you're not in your room. If you're paying attention.
Like a glitch in the Matrix where you see the black cat walk by twice.
Basically, there will be one detail in your room that is off. The door will be on the wrong wall. The bedspread's a different color. There's a bookshelf you don't really own. It can be subtle. It can be something big.
Y'all have got to see this. Why is an old 4chan post talking about a broken ceasefire leading to World War III, leading to an alien invasion? Why is it that these old 4chan posts always seem to manifest right in front of us? So let's read this and see how accurate it is. You can see it says 6/22/25. I put up on the screen. Israel breaks ceasefire and strikes Iran. It's kind of weird. Trump responds with B-2 bunker busters on nuclear sites. Weird. Iran hits all Gulf oil fields and U.S. bases, blocks Hormuz, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Is that not exactly what is happening? It happened last night. Oil prices skyrocket. Blackouts in Africa and the third world. Of course, we have that happening in Cuba as well. U.S. sends 3 aircraft carriers. At least 2 sunk by Iran, Russia, and China using self-unalive tactics. This is insane. This is like the point that we're supposed to be at, coming here pretty soon. U.S. tries amphibious invasion. First fails with massive casualties. Second attempt succeeds. By the way, Bibi just came out and said that they are putting boots on the ground in Iran. Oilfield seas, advance halts, U.S. civil war begins. Anti-war bloc takes D.C. with military support. U.S. splits into 2 and retreats from the Middle East. And by the way, it's supposed to happen all by 2027. We had like 2026, a doomsday map, And of course, we had that really weird site that people would use to get analytics, especially geopolitically and military-wise, which also showed some great reduction in population happening. So it's kind of weird how this all comes together. Turkey betrays NATO. That is seemingly how it's going to go. Joins Russia, Iran, China alliance. China invades Taiwan. Now, look, this is all bound to happen, obviously. Russia's going to take Europe like the George Orwell map. We know China's been waiting to go in on Taiwan for years now, and they're surrounding it right as we speak. North Korea invades South Korea. Of course, Japan fails to stop it. The president was just meeting with Japan earlier today. Fast forward, a bunch of tactical nuke things happen. And then it says 3 weeks of nuclear events, and then a fake alien invasion begins. MJ-12 releases synthetic alien soldiers. By the way, these are all, the classified government documents that talk about all this stuff, Majestic 12 and Project Blue Book. PLFs hunt survivors. FEMA camps classify people as useful or undesirable. By 2027, 5 billion have been unalive. Fake aliens defeat the help of the real ones. I told you there'd be a good cop, bad cop with aliens, but they're all friggin' evil. It's one world government under MJ-12 and the UN, Dome of the Rock destroyed. Script complete. Insane stuff. Let me know what you think below.
I heard people say that alien invasion, abduction will actually be biblical rapture. But anyway, stay prepared. Trust in Lord. Jesus is near.
The Circles of Dante's Inferno, Part 2. The first circle, Limbo. The first circle is Limbo, home to the souls of virtuous pagans and unbaptized children, those who did not sin yet are excluded from salvation. They suffer no physical torment, but live in a state of eternal longing, forever desiring to see God and sighing in quiet sorrow. In the book Nonum Calum, you can see the photographs taken by Franz Alessandro von Hohenberg, the explorer who in 1906 managed to capture the Inferno exactly as described by Dante Alighieri. Among these images are also the souls of Limbo. In one photograph in particular, you can see the Noble Castle, a place within this circle inhabited by virtuous souls known for their literary, military, and philosophical greatness. Follow me so you don't miss the next episode.
You received intelligence that suggests that there are perhaps deep water alien bases right now sitting on the ocean floor on this planet. Is that accurate?
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Can you go into more detail? How long have they been here? Where are they?
Well, I'm extrapolating all this with my East Tennessee vernacular. So we've got five or six deep water areas of our oceans. And these are areas where we have a high frequency of UFO or UAP sightings. We've had naval folks have told me pretty high up, and we've tracked things big as a football field going 200 miles an hour. And we don't know what it is. And these are in these areas. So, yeah, there's something going on there. And whether it's something that's been here for millennial or whatever, but I always remember the last thing this one high-ranking official told me as he left my office. He was right close to me as I am to my phone in my barn right now. And he said, Tim, they're real.
Man, we got aliens in the ocean and reptilian in the government. At this point, I don't doubt anything.
Fort Jefferson is in the middle of the Gulf of America, surrounded by
Gulf of Mexico?
no sources of fresh water. Very hard to get any materials in there. That's right in the hurricane zone. It was really kind of isolated. It was not very much of a strategic location. Despite that, it is the largest brick mason structure in North America. The most bricks, mostly red bricks, of course, used to build any structure still to this day in North America. Never a shot fired from the fort, and it was never officially completed. They just abandoned it despite all of the material, all the time spent building it and putting it together. Of course, they say most of it was built by prisoners. That was one of the only uses of Fort Jefferson. It served as a prison mostly. So again, it was supposed to be this big, giant military fort. So the amount of bricks in this is just insane, folks. And it really breaks every rule about these star forts. It's located 70 miles off of the Key West. Like I said, largest brick mason structure in North America, 16 million total red bricks, built on a tiny coral key that's basically a sandbar. The mainstream narrative tells us these star forts that you're seeing here all started popping up around the thousands went up across Europe, India, Russia, and the Americas. And then in 1800s to the 1900s, they suddenly became obsolete.
Wow.
They were filled in, leveled, turned into parks. But if you zoom out on these structures, as you're seeing here, the perfect pentagons, hexagons, multi-pointed stars, the exact cymatic patterns that matches frequencies like the golden ratio 432, the 432 hertz that we've talked about. So why are they over-engineering across the world, worldwide, for cannons, and then abandon them right when artillery got better? And I believe it's because cannons were the cover story. These star forts were part of a worldwide connected grid of energy. We've talked a little bit about the Ether network, the free energy systems that the old world had. I believe these star forts were part of what helped resonate these frequencies, these ether frequencies, stabilizing the old world ether grid. The bells would ring, the forts would hum, the energies would flow, free power, free flight for the world.
Okay. So, what does it take to actually break the firmament and cause the next great flood?
Nerds, Salem, Massachusetts has decided to build the world's largest Ouija board. Look at them.
Why? Why?
No, I don't want to look at that. People, we need to have a very serious and frank conversation about your
Yeah, man, you're gonna release something out.
hobbies. Like, if you want to get in the Guinness Book of World Records, couldn't you have, made the world's largest pizza again? Or
There
the
you
world's
go.
largest chocolate bar? Or a ball of yarn? A rubber band ball? Or something? But you have to go after a Ouija board that's larger than the gates of hell. And what's the point? I mean, idiocracy is never going to exist if you start the apocalypse now, and as soon as you guys start running across that board, that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, hell is actually looking at you guys and celebrating. And honestly, it's a little bit ironic that you're doing it in Salem, because that's where they burned the witches. So half of those people are probably descendants of the witches, and the others are, well, descendants of the Puritans. But that's irrelevant to this point. You guys need to stop this. Stop tempting the fates.
I agree with
Pick
this
another
guy.
hobby.
We're in an era where we can build real life X-Men. There's a gene editing injection that can make your bone mineral density 8 times stronger.
What?
Yeah, I mean, there's
you could do that.
They can't legally do it in the U.S.
Are they
right
doing
now,
that in
but
China?
these are things that they're doing.
Are they making Russian super soldiers right now?
This is the challenge. It's China
8
and
times
Russia
stronger?
are pushing the envelope with all these things.
Does that change your body mass?
Oh, you would 100% think it's going to change your BMI because your bone mineral is going to be much thicker and more dense.
Whoa, I want that.
I'm telling you, the
I want
future
to run
is
through a wall.
Did you know I sign up.
that Northern Virginia has its own cryptid? Recent post from Phantoms and Monsters says the wooded corridors along the Potomac River and the suburbs outside of D.C. have produced a steady pattern of unsettling humanoid encounters over the past 15 years. Roslyn, of all places, November 2020, 2 people see a stark white 4-foot-tall figure near the woods by the Potomac River. Dale City, winter 2012, a woman sees a short bipedal humanoid crouched on her garage roof. But this one has glowing yellow eyes. An unnamed Boy Scout camp in Northern Virginia, a 6-foot hunched-over cat-like humanoid follows the scouts at night. Witnesses report moaning and growling, but this one approached them and messed with the cabin that they were staying in. Alexandria, 2016, a driver at 2:30 a.m. sees a small white crawler the size of a toddler, long thin limbs, bristly hair, defined hands and feet. It sprints 50 yards in a second and vanishes. Now, Virginia as a whole has a pretty rich history of hauntings, witches, and even Bigfoot variants, and that's without even touching the history of Appalachia. But a regionally specific crawler-type humanoid concentrated in Northern Virginia is a rarity. Virginia's a big state, and 15 years is a little more than a coincidence. If the last event was in 2020, where did they go?
How
That's probably just a mad head.
to spot a reptilian? Well, a reptilian, as David Icke will point out, there's quite a few in the UK. They're in the British royal family, and they openly admit they're blue bloods, which is cold. They're cold-blooded creatures. They're different to the warm-blooded creatures that we are. And again, from the outward, they look perfectly normal. But they are cold-blooded, cynical, and they call themselves blue bloods, so that you know who they are. They're a very, very different breed to you and I. They have very little sympathy or empathy with normal people. They think of themselves as better than you and I. They refer to themselves as the elite. But the reptilians are cold-blooded, blue-blooded reptiles.
Yep, the royal family is of reptilian bloodline.
This conspiracy of all time is sitting out in Washington, D.C. It's also here at the Vatican. This is the ancient structural representation of the womb of Isis. This is the ancient structural representation of the erect male phallus of Osiris. Your capital city is laid out as a magical construct based on ancient Egyptian beliefs for the exact purpose of raising Osiris from the dead so that he could be incarnated within every U.S. president. That's the way the city's laid out. It's also laid out that way at the Vatican. It was dedicated to Osiris, Isis, and the sun god Ra. And when Sixtus the Pope brought it there, he tried to conduct an exorcism on it to cast the spirit of Osiris out of it before planting it in the center of the Vatican City. All right, there's a reason why the Washington Monument has a magic square in its base where a Bible is bound. There's a reason there's a magic 666 square above that altar in the house of the temple where I was at. There's a reason there are 72 pentagrams. In their Gnosticism, they believe 72 demons control the nations of the earth, and they have bound them at the base of the apotheosis of Washington. This is the underbelly of the U.S. Capitol Dome. It's called the apotheosis of George Washington, which means to become a god.
Yep, the world is ran by the people with the hidden hand. Their god is Baal.
This is a picture from northern Russia in the 1970s, recently declassified. You see that thing? You see it? What do you think it is? I think it's a crashed UFO. Look again. That ain't no airplane. That ain't no helicopter. It ain't no submarine that crashed on land. That's an alien spacecraft from Russia. And somehow it went kablooey. Shabadoo booshkis. Shabadoo.
Looks like a ding-dong.
What if the real target in Baghdad wasn't oil or WMDs, but the museum itself? Conspiracy researchers have argued for years that the Iraq Museum held more than stolen history. They say it held Sumerian artifacts linked to ancient technology. Not jewelry, not statues. Instructions. Inside the Looking Glass mythos, cylinder seals and cuneiform tablets from Mesopotamia weren't just religious art. They were diagrams of portal systems, timeline devices, and a lost machine later buried inside black projects. That changes the motive overnight. If Saddam's regime had access to buried Sumerian knowledge, then the rush into Iraq starts looking less like regime change and more like artifact recovery under military cover. Bill Wood's testimony pushed that theory even further. He described a covert war over future viewing technology, with rival factions fighting to control the timeline before convergence closed the window. So maybe Baghdad wasn't the battlefield. Maybe it was the vault. And whatever was hidden inside the museum may have been the oldest version of Looking Glass ever found.
Stolen by Clinton.
Jeffrey Epstein's family has been a secret until now. I did all the digging and found out about his childhood, his parents, his mom's side of the family. There's a lot to unpack. Not only does he have a secret brother, but I also found out that they've been lying to us about what year Jeffrey was born. This is a 1950 census, and it says that he's 7 years old here. They've been telling us that he was born in 1953. Physically, that is just not possible. On top of it, there's the secret brother. So he's the middle child, and then Mark is actually the youngest one. This is part of the graph I made, so be sure to check out my full video on YouTube where I dive into every single person and a lot more detail about Jeffrey's childhood. But let me just tell you one more thing. I found almost a full proof, he is alive. I found this in one of his relatives' obituaries. Why is it that in 2021, they're giving their condolences from Jeffrey? From Jeffrey. Unless he's alive. I think he's alive, you guys. Watch my video and then let me know, do you guys think this is a family affair? As always, I have to say this for legal purposes. This is all alleged. So take it with a grain of salt and follow me for more.
Duh, he's alive.
The Edfu building text, they don't say Atlantis. They talk about this land called Utlan. Well, it's not that much of a stretch to go from Utlan to Utlantis, right? There's a thing called the building texts that are at Edfu in Egypt at the Temple of Horus. These gods, these Neters, came from what was known as the Zep Tepi, the original time, where there was primordial island, where they came from to Egypt, and they brought all their sciences and everything there. On the other side of the world, in the Yucatan, amongst the Nahuatl cultures like the Mayan, they all also had a legend that they had come to that region from a land called Atlan. So Atlan and Utlan, obviously very similar, and then those are, of course, also linguistically very close to Atlantis that Plato talks about.
What were the occult secrets behind the Nazi Aryan master race? The Nazi hierarchy, particularly the SS under Heinrich Himmler, was deeply immersed in occultism that revered the, quote, Black Sun. The inner order of Himmler's SS was actually called, quote, the Black Sun. The inhabitants of Agartha, a legendary Hollow Earth realm often cited in Nazi occultism, were also called, quote, children of the Black Sun, and worship this luminary as their divine ancestor. Much of occult literature equates the Black Sun with Saturn, who is historically and mythologically identified as Satan. Researchers like Nicholas Goodrick Clark also cited Nazis as having stated that the Black Sun was a, quote, Merovingian symbol. The Merovingians, of course, were descendants of Satan through Cain. Some authors suggest that the Nazis, like the Merovingian kings they studied, may have believed they carried the blood of the Black Sun, aka Saturn or Satan. This bloodline is often described as the, quote, Grail blood or dragon blood, which traces its origins back to Cain and Satan, rather than the biblical Adam and Jehovah. According to researchers such as Gary Wayne, the Nazi ideology of the, quote, master race was a direct attempt to revive the bloodlines of the Nephilim, the biblical giants spawned by the union of fallen angels and human women. The Nazis adopted the cosmology of Hans Horbringer, believing that non-human visitors or great masters came to Earth in the distant past and, through gene manipulation, produced a, quote, divine hybrid being or God-man in Atlantis. Atlantis. Member of the Dragon Royal Court, Nicholas Nevers, in The Dragon Legacy, also corroborates this, describing how the Nazis believed the original Germans were descendants of this divine hybrid race, aka Nephilim, who were bred specifically to rule mankind. Nazi ideology viewed the mixing of these, quote, pure bloodlines with mortals as the true original sin. This view seems to be at least partially supported by other independent sources. In Secret Societies of the 20th Century, Jan von Helsing writes of how the Vril and Fool societies believed they were corresponding with extraterrestrials from a star system called Aldebaran, which was home to a race of blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryans who apparently lived on Mars before coming to Earth. This is corroborated by a declassified CIA document, which also describes a remote viewing session that also coincidentally depicted an ancient advanced race on a dying Mars before they eventually came to Earth. David Icke believes that the hybridization of this white race with other species started on Mars, and that they formed our early kings, which is why many depictions of ancient kings across cultures are blonde-haired and blue-eyed.
After the Epstein files, everything is possible in this world. We know nothing.
Everywhere is a holy land. Think about it. Holland, holy land. Sweden, the land of Eden. Finnish, the land of the finesse. The people of finesse. They're finished. They're polished. Polish, the Polish people. Every land is holy. What does San Diego mean? Holy Diego. What does Los Angeles mean? The angels. Yeah. Everywhere is holy. Every name of every town, every country. Venezuela, the land of Venus. Name a place. You'll find that it goes back to the stars. It goes back to the gods. Of course, Israel, Isis, Ra, and El is the Holy Land, but it's not Jews, because a Jew means to be druidic. It means to be ascending from shedding, disentangling yourself from material lusts and material weights that are going to keep you incarnating here. I want to know everything and I want to be all powerful, but I want to deserve it. You will never have your power restored unless you deserve it. So the more good works you do, the more power.
How about Bali?
The thing is, extraterrestrials are not really allowed to interfere with our natural development as a species, but what they can do is influence certain people to help, because they're not we have laws on the planet, like we have the United Nations laws, we have within our jurisdictions, we will have here we have magistrates court, then we will have a crown court, and in America they will have state courts, and then they will have federal courts. And outside of the planet, you have galactical laws, and you have beings from different galaxies that attend these meetings.
What?
And one of the places they attend the meeting is Mount Shasta, which, again, we have a book called The Akasha Records that talk about this. And Yanun, as in Dr. York, the being that speaks through Dr. York, he attends these meetings.
We had to change our story to be about reptilians. And they told us that they slit little girls' throats and that they'd suck their blood out and that they consume their life force, but that there is no God, and tried to convince us to have this dark, satanic alien narrative. Now, obviously, you and I know the truth, that the real story is what's coming out in the Epstein files, that in reality, they're an ancient Babylonian system that, worships their Canaanite gods. So I believe they were trying to deflect to this reptilian thing, shift the blame. Oh, it's some galactic force that's coming down, some alien monster. They're just trying to muddy the waters with it's psyops. But in reality, it's very evil human people doing the things that they are doing, mentioned in those files. And it's biblical.
Royal Archmasons describe their highest-ranking brothers as Grand Solicitor Generals of the Supreme Grand Chapter. There is a secret word, the name of the true Masonic God, which none are allowed to say in public. This name is Yarbulon.
Don't say it. You said you're not supposed to say it, and then you say it.
The Masonic God is not the same God of the Bible, which the Masons call Adonai. Yarbulon has been described by Christian minister Canon Brian Brindley as an unholy compound of the Hebrew name of God, Jehovah, with the heathen names for Baal and Osiris. The highest ranks of Freemasonry utter Yarbulon as the one sacred and mysterious name of God. Yarbulon is a tripantheon Masonic god, in part deified as the historical Baal, which the Oxford English Dictionary confirms as being a Hebrew word. Baal is the chief male deity of the Phoenician and Canaanite nations. To the tribes of the Old Testament, Baal was the devil himself.
Please tell me you heard this story. Wait. I don't even know how to start this, but this man said a group of dolphins kidnapped him, took him to the bottom of the sea, and made him design a city underground. Wait. I'm not finished. The dolphin name was Gerald. But I have a question for you. Do you believe dolphins really took this man and made him build an underground city? This video is about to get a little dark and a little deep. Stay with me. Please go back and watch my video. What if oxygen was poisonous and it takes 80 to 100 years to kill us? When you finish watching that video, come back to the story about the dolphins. It's a reason why they don't want us communicating with dolphins. But when you hear stories like this, it makes conspiracy theory people sound nuts. Do I believe this story? Hell no. But let me tell you the reason why this story came out. Everything is about discrediting spiritual people. So when you hear a real spiritual person say that dolphins can talk to us, dolphins are water benders. We really come from the oceans and dolphins are really a part of us. When you hear people say this, they're going to laugh at us. They're going to say, hey, that nigga better put on his tinfoil hat. But let's go a little deeper. What that man said was really fake, but the story behind it is real. We really can communicate with these dolphins and go in the water. We really can build underground cities. The people that control this world, they don't really want to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you. You ever ask yourself, how can a baby survive 9 or maybe 10 months inside of the womb? It's nothing but fluid or water. If you're Christian, the only way you can get saved, you have to get baptized in water. If you are a Muslim, before you pray, you must do wudu. Wudu means you have to cleanse your body with water first. But they say we have to get baptized in the church. No, we are baptized inside of the mother's womb. When her water break, we are now in reality. Stories like this is not really fake, but people can make up shit. When you tell lies over and over, the truth don't mean nothing. So his story is fake and is real. He really didn't get kidnapped. I mean, I doubt it. But there are certain people on this planet that can communicate with the dolphins.
Everything is possible, but we don't know how to wake our brains to the fact.
The world's largest pyramid is located in Mexico, Cholula, Mexico. As a matter of fact, there's more pyramids in North America compared to any other place in the world. And when you start to look into the fabricated story of Egypt, when you start to look into the fake artifact and basically the historical hijack that has taken place, you start to see that they removed so many different artifacts that they found here in the America, whether it be North America or South America. The pottery and the artifacts found in America predate the artifacts and the pyramids of Egypt. And when you look into the true story and architecture behind the Egyptian pyramids, you start to say, so we know who really built it now, because they're not even the world's largest pyramid. If you want to see some large pyramids, go to South America. If you want to see some big pyramids, go to Mexico and go to even...
How about Bosnia?
North America. When you start to see that there are pyramids on every continent, they don't want us to understand the true origin story. Because when we start to understand American, Jamaican, Puerto Rican, Mexican, African, and that Khan equals priest, king, and ruler, and that the world used to be ruled by Khans, and it was a Khanship under the order of Melchizedek.
Indonesian.
Because Melchizedek represents all the law of the land. This is why every king and queen and society has to bow down to Melchizedek, the king of Jerusalem, USA. This brings us to the next point. Canada also used to be known as Canaan. So there we have the land of Canaan. America is blessed. America is an extension of Britain, and Britain as well is an extension of Manasseh. Look into the Lost Lunas Stone and the Decalogue stones. They were real. They were not forgeries. And check out Cholula, the pyramid in Mexico. It will change your life. This is also why we made y'all the Health Bible. Get healthy, wealthy, and wise, and start detoxing at jacobslink.com or hit the link in the bio instead.
What about the pyramid in Antarctica?
There's a new alleged NSA document that's making waves in the conspiracy world. It's called the Poltergeist Initiative. It reads like a field manual that was specifically made to infiltrate the UFO community, manipulate images, seed narratives, and ultimately guide discussions. It even includes posting strategies and recommends blending seamlessly into UFO communities. Redditors familiar with intelligence documents have already pointed out some pretty glaring mistakes in the formatting and protocol. There's some interesting bits about diverting conversations back to grounded claims, which makes me wonder what their intended goal was. Are they purposely seeding misinformation, or is this damage control for the coming disclosure? Are they hoping to change the topic from NHIs and dimensional beings back to a more easily controllable UFO narrative? If it isn't real, and I'm leaning towards that, then why does it feel like engineered disinformation? Or am I playing right into their hands by talking about it on here?
Do vampires actually exist in our world? And if they do, what would they look like today? One of the strangest cases happened back in 1995, when a very bizarre man was invited onto a TV talk show. His appearance looked like a real-life vampire, but the audience just assumed it was a costume and part of his character. Then, out of nowhere, he claimed he was 450 years old and said he actually isn't afraid of sunlight at all, unlike the way vampires are shown in popular movies. His name was Don Henry, and he insisted that his fangs were real. And of course, he said he drinks red liquid, but not human, only animal. Even the lie detector test on the show showed that he was telling the truth. Later, everyone forgot about this guy, and most people were sure it was just
I remember this guy.
a staged TV bit. But now, almost 30 years after that interview, I found Don Henry on social media. And he not only hasn't aged, it actually looks like he's gotten younger. Now, many people are convinced that vampires really do live among us. They just don't reveal themselves in public because there are very few of them left.
Epstein class are more vampires than this dude. They ate babies and drink human blood.
We removed most everything out of Oak Island in 1765, so they're not going to find much there. Most of the stuff has already been moved out of there. We had gold candelabras and gold jewelry and coins, and a lot of that stuff was all went towards funding the American Revolution, actually. And that's why that stuff was removed in 1765. But that said, and Benjamin Franklin was actually largely involved in that process.
If Atlantis was Antarctica and they had such a high level of civilization, look at the Baalbek platform in Lebanon. There is a platform which consists of 3 1,300-ton stones. 19 cranes of the highest industrial grade that we have today can't lift and move one of these. That gives you a sense of the level of engineering capability of the civilization. It's beyond ours. If you're a civilization that advanced, why do you isolate yourself to Antarctica? Antarctica is a place that's completely isolated, and it's sort of hidden away from all the other continents of the planet to the extent that we did not discover it until like the 1800s. If they were time travelers, they needed to isolate themselves from the timeline. You might decide to quarantine yourself to a place where you're not going to be observed by the other evolving societies on Earth. And Antarctica would be the ideal place.
The Rothschilds were trying to start a world war because the Zionist International Congress at Basel, Switzerland, has called for 3 world wars. At the end of the Third World War, they would control the entire world. The 1 billion Christians are fighting a war to the death against 1 billion Muslims, which will leave Israel in charge of the world, which was predicted at the 6th International Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland in 1896. After the Zionist Congress in 1896, you had World War I, World War II, and now we have World War III. At the end of World War I, the Rothschilds organized a number of groups called, one was the Royal Institute of International Affairs in London. It's called Chatham House, and that is the think tank of all of Europe today. And although its headquarters in London, the real headquarters are in Brussels, which is the headquarters of the Lambert family, which is part of the...
At the end of a Third World War, there is no world left to rule over.
Something is changing in America, and most people haven't noticed yet. Across the country, people are parking their vans, their buses, their RVs, side by side. Not because they have to, because they chose to. They're forming communities, sharing resources, sharing skills, watching out for each other. No landlord, no lease, no HOA telling them what the color of their door can be. Media calls this van life, but that's not what this is anymore. This is people who looked at a $2,000 a month rent payment, a 30-year mortgage they'll never qualify for, and a system that keeps moving the goalposts and said, no, not out of desperation, out of clarity. They built something the housing market can't touch. A community you can move. This isn't a trend, it's the beginning of something.
I don't blame them at all. The world is all messed up. I get it.
Mary Jane prevents mind control. Confirmed by the Epstein files. Fool. The Lord says you never should have denied me. The herbs will be for the healing of the nations. 10 the curse, Revelation 22:3. And all of you denied me. So the reason why they make alcohol legal and they make marriage illegal is because alcohol helps to activate the reptile part of your brain. But the clean ganj that you don't get from the store, the real ganj that you get from your local farmers, it helps to heal your brain and it prevents the wrong neurons, prevents the neuronal synapses from growing or centering together incorrectly. The herbs will be for the healing of the nations to end the curse. We have to understand that they don't want us consuming this plant, okay? It's very common sense now when you start to take a look at the real facts and the truth. They do not want you consuming this plant in its natural state. Now, this brings us to my next point. Do not consume the stuff that they are selling at the dispensary. This is not what I created for you to consume, says the Lord. I created the original greenery at the 60% THC with a whole bunch of GMO and pesticide and herbicide added to it. Just a little bit of iron mixed into clay. This is the devil's lettuce. And so I really want you to find a farmer, a local farmer, who does not use the GMO pesticide or herbicide. This is going to really elevate your game, and it's going to allow you to get the most from the Mary of the Jane. Remember, Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility, and I need you to practice responsibility. And remember, you need to start detoxing, okay? You need to do the Master's Cleanse every day. If you are a smoker or a toker, you need to clean out your lungs. 1/16 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a pinch or two of salt, half a key lime, and much coconut or olive oil. You can handle any shot glass, drink that every morning. Combine that with fasting 12 to 24 hours a day for men, 10 to 14 hours a day for women. Doing this allows your body to go into a cellularly regenerative state, and you're able to also push out those metals and toxins trapped in your body. But remember that the Most High Lord, He has a plan for your health. But the question is today, do you have a plan for your health? No disease will I place upon those who follow my instructions. Exodus 15:26. So all you got to do is follow these instructions, which are divine. And friend, brother, if you have not started on the ganj, maybe you should. Once people start to, use all the herbs, all be for the healing of the nation, oftentimes that stick that's been up their arse for 20 plus years starts to go away. Lord, we thank you for this plant. Lord, we thank you for not allowing us to grow up like we're a tight ass. All praises to you, Lord, because you have a plan for your son. To start healing and getting healthy, take your health serious and stop being such a pothead at jacobslink.com. What do you think this is, a country club?
He said a teaspoon of cayenne pepper and a lime and coconut oil cleanses your lungs. Man, he speaks too fast.
The predictive programming was there. They tell you, what's going on ahead of time.
If you're a fan of the Terminator series,
I'll be back.
We have Elon Musk, who just last year was saying, if you're going to get wealthy, you have 4 years to do it before the singularity and robots and AI take over. And then no matter what you do, it won't matter. And if you look at the Terminator, and when Terminator was supposed to come onto the scene, it was 2029, which lines up perfectly with the comment Elon Musk said. And if you look at Elon Musk, even his name, he was written about in 1952 by none other than Werner von Braun in Project Mars, where it was said that someone by the name of Elon would take us to and occupy Mars. So none of this is by accident.
So said that humanity always preferred to be greedy and stupid rather than caring and helpful.
You tether a balloon down on the ground, have it go up about 1,000 feet in the air with copper wires attached and generate electricity right from there. Just having a free-floating helium balloon tethered to the ground, you just connect it to your electrical sources. I believe it could give us free energy. And all these wars, like I said, so many things going on around the world right now. Brand new war, all again for oil, for gas, for resources that they want us to think is scarce and limited. We have to go after this place or they're going to bomb us with nukes, and we have to go and get this oil reserves and yada, yada, yada. But there's a better way. And they deliberately keep that hidden from us. That is what's so important about this, folks. We could be living so much different lives, so much better lives, where we didn't have to toil away, in our 9 to 5s and give over half of our checks away just to survive every week. And it's just all about these parasites that run the thing. They want as much money from us as possible. They want us broke, powerless, and in the dark, because then we can't rise up when we're clueless about our past, clueless about the true nature of this realm, the true history of this realm, and we're broke, penniless, just making enough to get by. It's so easy to control and manipulate us that way, guys.
Thank the Rothschilds for that.